Hi there, Sakira Avant here to talk about the usability report received from my participant. And so I'm going to start off going into my LMS Canvas. So, just a little background about who conducted the usability testing. I actually spoke with a secretary at our high school. She had a daughter who is a rising ninth grader. And she actually is really excited because science is her favorite subject. So I asked her, I said, hey, I want you to test to see how user friendly this site will be for you next year as a freshman in biology. And I'm going to have you do like a fake lesson and then we can talk about it afterwards. But I told her to be as authentic as possible with doing it so she can give me feedback on how I can make the elements better and more usable for students. So she did just that. It was actually pretty cute and funny when we rewatched it, and she kept wanting to redo it, but I'm like, girl, we don't have time. But it was a great experience for me because I liked hearing from a student who has no idea what this curriculum is as a rising ninth grader, how well she was able to adapt and use the program and actually learn something. So, like, we actually had a really good conversation about it. She was definitely the ideal tester because one, I didn't really have anybody in the content area or um, any other adult that I would like to test it that would actually give me valuable feedback. The other type of ideal tester I would like for it to be a new biology teacher, but unfortunately they don't come back until the 31st. So she was the most ideal at the time. But in the future, I would like to troubleshoot this with my teachers. I'm actually going to have them do the same thing since we're going to try to all have the same homepage. And I want them to talk about what they like about this homepage. How can we change this homepage, and what ways do they think the usability of it will be significant in their classroom this year? So, um, as far as how did this affect her testing skills, so just a little background, she is not taking any classes to learn about the topic I chose. I specifically chose her to do the second module versus the first one because the first module they learned a little bit of it in seventh grade and touch it a little bit in eighth grade, but the second module is actually the first time she'll ever hear about there being different types of cells. So I thought it was pretty hands on and more authentic since she wouldn't have any background knowledge on it. And so when she finished, she actually took the quiz in the simulation that she wasn't able to click directly from it because we're not active yet. But if she was able to click the link directly inside of the active program, she would be able to take a quiz, which was a simulation that allowed her to see if she could differentiate at the microscopic level the different types of cells, which is essential for students to do on their STAR exam. And she actually received 100%, which some of those I was like, ooh, I didn't know she was going to get them right, but she actually did a pretty good job. What I learned from her feedback was very valuable as she is an EB student. So with our emerging bilingual population here at Northbrook, we have over 90% of our students start off speaking another language at home. So we always have to take in consideration their ability to be able to um, use the language as a beneficial thing versus as a crutch, because there's a lot of cognates that are similar to the English language, and thankfully she did that. She had good practice with it, but there were a few words that she had a hard time pronouncing, so she said it with a Spanish version. And after we talked about it and I told her the correct way, she laughed about it. She heard it in the simulation, was like, that was so helpful, the simulation said it the correct way. And then she was like, I actually know how to say that word now. And it was funny to hear her have her own feedback from her own independent learning. So when she gave me the feedback, I really loved how like authentic it was. She wasn't really like shy about what she said. She did tell me like when she recorded, because we weren't at the school at the time, she did record at home. It was a little hard to record because she had other people at her house talking to her and stuff during the recording, but I think she did a really good job. I mean, it was 30 minutes exactly, and she tried to fit in as much as she could before screen Castify kind of logged her out. But some changes she asked for is that she really would like for it to have a place for students to talk, because she was like, what if I don't know, like, especially if you're in a big class, what if I don't know something, or I have a question, or I don't remember something and I'm not allowed to get out my seat? How can I like talk to somebody and ask them if I'm not, like, to not disturb the class? And I was like, that is a good point, because sometimes students do learn better from their peers. There's many of times where collaboration is encouraged. It's one of the 21st century employable skills to be able to do teamwork and collaboration. So I did tell her like that was really good feedback, because I don't have anything in here yet at the time that she can use for collaboration. However, I did find this little button. I've never used this before, so we're going to troubleshoot it this school year. I added it as a part of our learning goals, is to add a way for students to collaborate and get to know each other's get to know each of their classmates. I usually hate during the school year when like it's February and you're like, hey, go work over there with them, and you tell them their name and they're like, who's that? And they've been in the same class since August and they don't know each other's names. So the collaboration section is basically a Google extension that allows students to have live conversations, kind of like a chat room with each other. And so I added this based off of her feedback, and she was like, oh, that's going to be cool. Like that way, every time like it's something really hard, you can just put that in collaboration and they can collaborate. Or if you want them to collaborate on an assignment by groups, you can group them and have them collaborate on their assignment as well. So I really did like that feedback because I didn't think about having a collaboration piece for students. Having her give me feedback and kind of talk through and show me like what she was struggling with, like with different buttons on the simulation, or like knowing where to start, really helped me with a little bit of the reorganization of how my teachers need to fix their LMSs, because even though my LMS is a little more aligned to what we learned in this class, their LMSs are a lot of the time just storage places for documents versus being an interactive place for student learning. I do think it's a lot of improvement that's needed there, and I can't wait for this year to really dive into Canvas and all of its extra bells and whistles. Um, it did also show me that like when I put the assessments in, I need to specifically target a button for assessments so that they don't take them first, because initially she tried to take the assessment first, but it wouldn't let her take the assessment first. She had to go through the module. And so I do think for my teachers this year, I'm going to have to do that enforced, the force order, so that we can make sure that students are correctly doing the force order instead of just jumping straight to the assessment. So, in order to target and address infrastructure and support needs for my learners this year, we're going to make sure that they are adept at using Read Write Google, as I talked previously in my other module for this course. I think especially for words like the mitochondria that she kept misinterpreting as the cell itself instead of a part of the cell, it would have helped for her to see it, one, a picture of it, two, to hear it in English, and then three, to see the definition of what the mitochondria actually was. So that was one thing I took from her feedback, just watching how she interacted with my LMS. And I think that's the Rewrite Google added to the Canvas is going to be a big impact for our EB students, especially in our sheltered biology classes. Overall, this experience has been like really awesome. I think it's very powerful to me to get the feedback from the students, because they're the ones that's having to use the LMS. Getting a usability report from adults that are giving it out is very effective, of course, especially for fixing it for aesthetics and usability and logistics. But it needs to be easy enough for the students to be able to go through and like actually do the assignments independently. And one big thing she brought up is being able to pace it herself. So, in one day she was able to get pretty much half of that first module done in her first 30 minutes versus, on a 50-minute class period, you'll have students at different learning time lapse. So you won't be able to say, okay, everybody do it at this time in this amount of time, and then we're going to stop and we're going to do an exit ticket, versus like, okay, hopefully you've gotten at least to part B or number 3 of the learning module. We're going to take a pause, but you'll be able to continue this on your own at home, or we'll pick back up the next day on it. So I did like how she brought up the pacing as well. Overall, I think this was a really good activity to do. I hope that we get to use Canvas more effectively this year in comparison